4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And I am Lovey. And I'm running on a little bit of empty right now.
You run on fumes, babe?
On fumes.
He's running on fumes.
And I think it has something to do with, after the conference and getting everything done, you work up to this crescendo, and then afterwards it's like, it's almost like your wedding, right? So it's like all this build up to the wedding day, and then it's like, okay, we're excited, we're going to go. And then you go to the honeymoon, and then you start off really strong. And then after a while, it's just like you just kind of crash. And right now, I feel like I'm crashing.
Are you saying that you felt like you crashed after we came back from our honeymoon?
I felt like I was bamboozled. That Plymouth Rock landed on me. No.
Whatever.
No. Hey, look, welcome back to the Married and Crazy podcast. Look, we're a podcast that talks about all things marriage. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, all the wonderful things that makes up matrimony. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's pretty.
Sometimes it's pretty ugly. No.
She's talking about her because I'm better half.
Whatever.
Anyway, so hey, look, hey, if you're new to the podcast, make sure that wherever you are, you give it 5 stars, right? And that you actually tell a lot of friends about the podcast so we can increase the conversation, the scope of the conversation, the breadth of the conversation.
Oh, brother.
So whether you're on YouTube or you're on iTunes or Google Play or Audible, wherever you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Pandora, it's kind of like a small flex because, we're in all those places. But the bottom line is we're thankful that you are here because you'll be doing lots of different things, but you're choosing to actually hang out with us. Yeah. And we have different things. So we have some interviews that we are scheduling right now to bring you subject matter experts as well as other couples to talk about their story and how they have been managing the challenges, the triumphs, everything that they've gone through as well.
So, I don't want to cut you off or cut it short,
Cut it short.
The intro. No, I was thinking about kind of what you just said about running on fumes and just kind of I want to say being empty. How sometimes in marriages that happens and the other person doesn't pick up on it. I want to say pick up on it, but it's like,
no, I
I'm
get
not
you.
talking about myself.
No, I get you. It's like, okay, one person's like coming in happy-go-lucky, like, doop, 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 hey, everything's great, this is great. And you'll get your partner like, what's wrong with you?
And you kind of just glaze over it, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lesson in having to be connected. In tune. I almost said connected, but yeah, in tune and connected to your partner. That's not what I wanted to talk about today, but it kind of fit a little bit. It does kind of fit a little bit. I feel like
it does, because you have to get beyond or go deeper than the surface level.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there's a lot of superficialness. look, don't get me wrong. Love is deep. Everything that we're doing should be. But look, take a look at the Married into Crazy Winter Ball and Marriage Conference. There was a lot of amazing things that took place that weekend. And I'm not here to harp on, you should have been there, because I'm going to say that you should have been there. But no, but the thing is, there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of, we had so many couples reach out afterwards saying, you know what, we came to support you. We didn't know that we needed that. We didn't know that you were going to talk about this thing that was actually an issue with us that we had both been avoiding. And it's crazy. And it wasn't just us. I'm not talking about we said it. It's one of the 5 different speakers that we had that poured into, including E.T. E.T. went deep. But we have this level, this knack for being superficial and just being surface level in how we approach things, because we get into the day-to-day, the minutia of, we always talk about it, paying the bills, raising the kids, doing the civic duties, doing all the different things, showing up to the job. And we never get a chance to really, really, I guess, dig deep and strike oil to make sure that what we're doing actually has longevity to it, has sustenance to it.
So, I mean, you just said something like we really.
I said lots of things.
We never really get a chance. I don't know that we don't get a chance. I just feel like sometimes we just don't want we don't want to take the chance. We are giving opportunities daily, I feel like, to dig deeper with our partners, but that requires something of us. Ooh. And sometimes we just don't have it to give, or we don't want to give it because I got my own whatever. I had a bad day at work, and whatever it is, it could be anything, but the opportunities are typically there if we're looking for them. A lot of times I don't have the capacity right now. And sometimes we have the capacity. I don't want to. I just don't want to. But so for me, when I think about digging deeper, I don't just think about dig deeper, Sean T.
Heck no. I almost cursed. That fool got me cursing on a daily basis. I'm done with Sean T.
I love Sean T.
I'm done with him. No, this is not dig deeper. This is not a plug.
Dig deeper right, because we ain't getting paid nothing. But I'm just saying, if you got beach body or body, whatever, do that workout. But so digging deeper, there's different levels to it. I feel like just to make that emotional connection. I wrote some things down like emotionally, the digging deeper. Like you just said something, and you're talking about, I felt like you're being kind of vulnerable when you're saying how you're running on fumes right now. And not in a bad way. I don't know. People think being vulnerable is a bad thing, but
it's not.
It isn't. I don't think it is.
No, it's not, because we went to go visit a church this past weekend. And it's a church we visited for the second time. And I will say this, that there was a gentleman there that actually helps he and his wife run the marriage ministry within this particular church. And he's an ex-NFL player. And we got into a conversation about how in the past, he wasn't open to being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. He wasn't open to being that guy that was all in on his marriage to a certain extent. He was there for his wife, for the kids, all that, but the show, if you will, like showing the public the public displays of affection, just really being there. He wasn't into it because he was led to believe growing up, the environment he was in, think about it, playing in the NFL, that's like gladiator school where you're taught to, be a man's man, so to speak, right? All the myths that surround it as well. Mm-hmm. And he said it wasn't until afterwards that it's like, you know what? No, I'm not being a punk if I'm all in with my wife. Right. I'm not being a punk if, I want to hold her hand and walk around in public and open the door for her and do these different things and show up differently. As a matter of fact, he says it made him feel like more of a man as a result of that. So the vulnerability piece is very real. And I think that as more men actually embrace that, your happiness quotient will go from a 3 or 4 to a 8, 9, 10, because it's like, I'm finally being who I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I'm finally being that person that never showed up in my life as a child, that I never got to witness, but it makes me feel so good about that. So when I talk about running on fumes, running on empty, there's just a lot of things that are going on. I've got a close friend that just lost their child. And I'm not going to go into details, but they just lost their child. And it took me back to
June 22nd,
2023.
Yeah.
And, us losing our son. And there's that. And it's no shade on them whatsoever. I want to be there for them in any way absolutely possible. But just that, and then there's stuff with the job.
Yeah.
There's so much that's going on, and you just, I'm running on fumes, and I just want to curl up and lay in the bed for 3 days straight, just hibernate. I have this vision of a bear, just, snow outside, and the doors are closed, and you just sleep and hibernate, almost like going to a cocoon for 3 days, and it sounds so good to me right now. But I think that we have a tendency to do that, and I know I'm talking a lot, but when it comes to your concept of digging deeper, I think that when we get into these superficial moments, or we don't have the capacity, or we have the what did you say? We have the opportunity to actually dig a little bit deeper and ask the deeper questions, to actually have a higher level of connection that sometimes we just don't. We avoid it, and I don't know why.
So, I mean, there are times where, sometimes you avoid it, but there are also, and one of the reasons that you avoid it, or a person could avoid it, is because the space is not safe to do that, to be vulnerable. I'm a call out a couple ladies. I don't know y'all's names, but I know of this type of woman who say they want a certain kind of man. I want my man to talk about his feelings. I want my man to share himself with me. I want him to tell me about whatever. And then when he does do that, then what are you crying about? Or what do you, so instantly you go from getting the thing that you say that you want to putting down that thing that you got. So it's like, so how do I know that it's a safe space? It should be safe. I hope that you don't ever feel like that. I know he doesn't, because I don't make him feel that way, but I'm just going. Derek Seymour is not watching.
For those of you that are not watching YouTube, I just did the proverbial, the 2-eye blink, like help.
Whatever. But okay, all jokes aside, we do need to make sure that we are creating that space for our partner, male or female, to express their fears, to talk about insecurities and their struggles. Kind of like Lovey just said, running on fumes. You talk about life things that happen in life that affect us. Job situations. There are a lot of people who are struggling right now. Fear, insecurity, not knowing where their job is, what's going to happen in their industry, if they're going to have a job, and can they afford certain things or whatever. So, being able to talk about that with your partner. If I can't talk to my partner about the things that are bothering me or that are I'm worried about, then who can I turn to?
No, you get a point. I mean, and that trickle down is going to be very real. I mean, right now the news is surrounding or circling around the federal level of employment, but that federal level is going to trickle down
to states,
to so many different
county,
private industries,
city, whatever. Yeah,
even in private industry, it's gonna go. So people are starting to wonder, like, okay, if that happens, how's that going to impact my role? Throughout healthcare, throughout securities, throughout the financial institutions, education, so forth. Yeah, and so that's very real. But it reminds me of E.T.'s video. We showed this part of our presentation. We shared this video from it's a long time ago, from E.T. called Dig, about you got married on some he looked good stuff, she looked good stuff, and it talks about digging deeper, about how certain skyscrapers, dug down a certain amount of feet, but they never hit bedrock. They were actually building their castle on sand. And so when things start to shift, the sand, of course your building is going to fall. And you need to hit bedrock. And I think that in our relationships, in this climate, it's time for us to dig deeper. You might not have the bandwidth. You might be tired. But we got to find a way to go beyond that. And dig a little deeper to make sure that we do find time to connect. One of the things I really love is that Cloyce and Sheila, we had these pair of speakers that was at our conference. Close and Sheila Dickerson, and they have a marriage ministry as well called Intentionally Yours that we belong to, that we look forward to actually attending. And they talked about spending, are you willing to invest 15 minutes a day in your relationship and having the couples come together and just talk? And it's not just talk for the sake of talking. Ultimately, what they were talking about was digging deeper to really understand each other, know each other, and have discussions that will invest in their future.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what a part of, like you just said, a part of digging deeper is making the connection, and that making that connection, having that 15 minutes. It could be longer, but at least 15 minutes where you're talking about some long-term type goals or the family values or the missions, because things change. Whatever the mission was last two months ago, it may be different now because, if things are fluid. So what I said I wanted may have changed. I'm going to need you to be updated on it. I should update you because you could be operating under wrong information, or old information. And so you're like, hey, wait, that's not aligning with what we said. I'm like, oh, wait, I thought we changed it. So, staying connected on those values and those, whatever the missions are, what our goals are, No,
and I think that's very real because it's so funny. Look, the computer if you're watching from a desktop right now, your computer has had multiple updates.
Or should have.
Your phone, if you're listening on your phone has had multiple updates. Chances are, if you go into your settings right now, there's probably an update waiting to be downloaded. All these things around us, technology, so forth, it's interesting. They all need updates. Why would we have the audacity to believe that we as a couple don't need updates?
That's right.
And it's funny. So we morphed a few things. We took that 15 minutes a day conversation and we turned it towards our finances. We kind of blended the stuff that Eva talked about with the group with Cloyce and Sheila talked about, and to a certain extent what ET talked about. And we said, we need to review our financial status as far as the things that we're doing for our savings and so forth. And we updated our system because what was working for us in the past is no longer working for us. So we had to actually sit down, have a conversation, make some choices, move some things around, and do new and different things to make sure that, we have a viable, sustainable future. Mm-hmm. And that's required in our relationships as well. I'm not saying it has to be your finances, but maybe it's about your sex life. Maybe it's about, did you hear me, sex life? Maybe it has something to do with, your physical fitness.
So ridiculous.
Maybe it has something to do with, your nutrition. Yeah, I don't know. The way you parent. Who picks up? Who drops off? Who goes to the sporting events? Who goes to, who's going to represent at PTA? Maybe it has something to do with, the next family reunion. I don't know what it is, but it requires a deeper conversation, digging deeper.
Intentional effort.
Oh, there you go. Intentional effort.
Mm-hmm. Intentional effort. So how are you prioritizing?
What do you mean?
Like, no, not you, but
I'm on the spot.
I'm just asking the question, intentional effort. How are you prioritizing your spouse, your partner? What does that look like for you? And do they recognize that you're prioritizing them? And I say this, I throw that in as far as them recognizing it, because I feel like that lends to like love languages, learning love languages and stuff. I could be thinking I'm on 10 with prioritizing Lovey, but if he doesn't recognize my effort as being intentional, then he's going to be thinking, I don't spend time with you. We don't do blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I did X, Y, Z. But he didn't recognize that. So it's making those love bids, I guess, making those love bids.
Shout out Gottman Institute.
But, quality time. And how there's nothing wrong with asking your partner. I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with asking your partner, how would you like our quality time? What would you like our quality time to look like? How does that look to you?
Baby oil.
You know
naked.
what? I was getting ready to say, and don't say nothing nasty. Ridiculous. How would you, I'm asking like I'm asking you, but I'm saying, ask your partner, what does quality time, us spending quality time together look like for you? And then you guys can come up with your own type of system of how quality time looks. Well, I like to do this. Oh, okay. Well, I like to do that. And maybe incorporate some things, quality time takes collaboration.
Man, does it take collaboration.
It does. It takes collaboration. And then finding out about the acts of love, the love languages or whatever, and making sure that you're applying those consistently. Don't do it one time and then 3 months pass. And so when the other person complaining about it, you be like, what are you talking about? We did blah, blah, blah. That was 90 days ago. Don't do that. You don't want to do that, And one thing that Lovey mentioned, the things that we implemented from the conference, we learned some stuff too. I think a lot of times people get, when they're been in long-term relationships, and people, oh, I'm okay, I don't need this and that, or we're doing fine or whatever. It's like you shouldn't go to these events, workshops, or conferences or retreats only if you're having issues. You go because you're open-minded and you're open to learning new things, right?
That's right.
It doesn't mean that, oh, my relationship is in the pits. It could be that your relationship is that. And if that is the case, then by all means, make sure you get around some like-minded folks. You get onto our website, click on that coaching tab, set up a discovery call, and get with a coach someone like ourselves, MIC, who can help you, provide you with some tools or resources or whatever. But you want to stay in environments where you're around like-minded couples. Nothing worse than being with couples who don't like each other.
All right.
They don't want to spend time together.
And I know we've talked quite a bit about our particular conference, the Married in a Crazy Winter Ball and Marriage Conference. That, by the way, will be happening in February 6th and 7th in 2026. But we're going to a conference in April. I literally just yesterday signed up to attend a conference up in Lake Tahoe because we practice what we preach. And when I say we practice what we preach, it's not that we're going there to speak. We're not going there to do things per se, but we are going there to be fed, to be around other like-minded couples so we can continue. This is something that is important to us.
Yep.
And let's really go into the whole concept of digging deeper. If you're digging deeper, that means that you're finding depth. Right? You're really trying to get to, we always talked about getting to the root of the challenges of sometimes you need to get to the root of your successes so you can duplicate them, so you can turn around and do it again and again and again and replicate that success over and over and over again. It's not about getting to the root cause of your challenges, though that may be the case. You also want to get to the root cause of your successes and your joy, so I can actually understand how to replicate this and do it over and over again. Too often we get into the concept, or we get into the practice of getting breadth, right? Getting that going wide instead of going deep. Problem with going wide is that if you go wide first, you're going so wide that you're not going deep. So you're spreading out over a wide period, which means you're spreading yourself thin. If you've ever heard that phrase where, oh, you know what, this person is spreading themselves thin, that means that there's a lot of breadth and not a lot of depth. Which means that if you ever look at these areas that get a lot of rain and you see these trees that have been there for ages, all of a sudden are toppling over, it's because their roots don't run deep. Their roots are very superficial, that are just above, just slightly below the ground.
Below surface.
And the moment that a storm comes, they're toppled. They're falling over on cars, on houses, and what have you. And you're like, wow, I had no idea. Because the storm hadn't come yet. You hadn't reached They weren't getting soaked. Once that soil gets soaked, and if they're not running deep, they have nothing to hold on to. Mm-hmm. So they fall over. And unfortunately, a lot of marriages in this age are doing the exact same thing. Yep. There's a lot of breadth. You can sit there and you see people on Instagram, on social media, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, what have you. And people are posting these pictures like, oh, we're here, we're there, we're traveling, we're doing this. Oh, we're at this gala. Oh, we're doing that. Oh, we're over here, we're doing this. And there's all these pictures. There's so much breadth. But how much depth do a lot of these individuals or people have? Because then you're shocked when it's like, oh my God, they're getting divorced. Oh, I didn't know that you had all these issues. They look so happy. It's because people are not as focused on the depth as they are the breadth. And so we want to talk about, and we want to implore everybody to really seek getting more and more depth. So when you get into those situations, hold on. When you get in those situations where, like I am right now, where I'm just running on fumes and I'm having a difficult time, I'm being honest, I'm having a difficult time right now. That when that happens, my wife recognizes that, and she's there to prop me up, and she's there to give me strength. And we go to God and together in prayer and ask for further strength. These are the things that you need, but that only happens in depth, because if we were strictly on breadth, if we were strictly in going wide, it would just, she'd be like, okay, well, that's you. You do you. And meanwhile, I'm happy. I'm doing my thing. I'm happy. I just got my master's degree. I'm miss everything. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, and I hope we're really reaching somebody right now. Mm-hmm. I hope somebody that needs to hear this is actually receiving it. And you're going to take the time to really invest the time needed for your marriage to go deeper.
So I was just going to say, everything that Lovey said is correct. And I agree with it. But I also...
Except, here comes the but.
It's not an except. It's not an except. I also want to say, if you are that couple in your loving life, you guys are great doing all kind of wonderful things, digging deeper all the time, and you have photos, and post those pictures, take those pictures. I feel like a lot of times social media is good when it's good, but it's also can be used for bad too. Because not everyone, like us, not everyone that's on social media are fake, the couples, and you see them and they're going out and they're doing things or what have you. Ours is very real, And
I know some couples that I love seeing their posts because I know it's genuine.
Mm-hmm. So if you are that, can continue to do that, because that actually gives someone else who aspires to have what you have, not be coveting of your relationship, but that makes them feel good too, because we've gotten comments. I love seeing you guys. I love your laugh. I love blah, 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 whatever. People have responded like that. So
I just commented this evening. There's a therapist, LPC Chris. Go follow her on Instagram as well as on Facebook. But LPC Chris, she's amazing. But she posted a video of these couples, and it showed like there was a line, I think Soul Train line, but there's a long line of couples, and they would kiss and then part, but they would show how long they were together. So it was like 1 week they would kiss, and then it was like 6 weeks together they would kiss and they would part. And so they would come together, kiss, and then and it would just open up, and it kept going. I think it ended at a couple that had been together for 47 years. And it was amazing, and it just made my soul just sing. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. Those kinds of things on social media that I love to see, that are genuine and that it inspires you, right? It's like those couple goals that we always talk about. But you don't get there. You don't get to 47 years without having some depth.
Right. We hope not.
Right? And you can tell when they look at each other, that you can tell by the way a couple looks at each other, if it's real or if it's, being, because there are some couples that have been together for 50 years that you're like, how do they, Hatfields and McCoys, how do they stay in the same house?
But I just want to say this about this couple too. Like we went to church, like you said, and I love seeing Pastor and First Lady Swanigan together. I do, because the way that she refers to him. She's, well, because pastor, blah, 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 whatever, is not, I feel the respect, the love and admiration that she has for him, and the same vice versa, with him. And they've been together for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. It was so funny too, because when we were at the conference and the Dickersons were giving away t-shirts, and they're like, who's been married the longest? And Tim and Angela, they were like 30. I think we got a winner over here, 30 something years. First Lady Delisa was like, oh, wait, no, 42 years here. Or I think it was over 40 years that they've been together. But she was proud of that. She was like, no, this is my man right here, whatever. It was just so cute, and it was authentic and genuine. So I love to see that also. Everybody knows I'm a lover of love.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the thing. You don't get to those number of years without going through some stuff.
Right.
And I love the fact, I love transparency. Mm-hmm. And this particular couple, who are a pastor and first lady, very well respected couple within the Sacramento region, that he shared some stuff that I didn't know. That I'm like, ooh, okay. But he shared with his congregation, and I'm sure they knew. We'd only visited there the second time. But I mean, I'm not going to share it, but they've been through, I know he wouldn't care if I shared it, but they've been through some stuff, which means that what he was sharing, that means he dragged his wife through some mud. Which means that, and I'm sure that they dragged each other through some stuff as a result of the lifestyle they had at one point. And the things they went through, they've lost a child as well. Mm-hmm. And God spoke to them. And I just got to say this, that they went through all of that. And when they talk about each other, there is such a reverence and respect for, like, yeah, girl, I dragged you through some stuff. And look, whatever you need, I got you, because you stuck with me. And vice versa. So when I talk about depth, there's a depth of character that's involved. There's a depth of sustainability. There's a depth of vulnerability. There's a depth of, we did this together. We stuck it out. Mm-hmm. And it's not always going to be easy. And I think that we just have to get past that, because people think that it shouldn't be this hard, or it shouldn't, it should be much easier than what it is. And in many occasions, majority of occasions, it will be fine. But we have a tendency to focus on the negative. And the moment that happens, you got to ask yourself, like to your point earlier, who do you have around you? Who's going to stand up and say, you know what, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a challenge, but don't forget about when you guys got through this, and this, and you did that with grace, with God's grace. And the enemy's trying to get you to focus on these other things to tear you apart. So, I'm not going to go into a sermon, but it's one of those things where, you know what, depth is everything. Yep. And we want you to get some too. So look, if you're having a difficult time, if you're having challenges, and you are like, I don't know, I know that we want to get through this, we just don't know how we're going to get through this. Go to marriedinacrazy.com. Reach out, do a discovery call. We may or may not be the couple that can actually work with you through this. And we'll be quick to let you know, and you'll be quick to understand whether or not we're the right ones for you. But our pride is such that it won't be hurt if you decide, oh, well, you're not the couple that we need to talk to, but thanks for chatting with us. Right. We're okay with that. Mm-hmm. But we have some tools and some resources that we do believe will be very beneficial to you. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we have some things that we're going to be rolling out in the month of March. March is going to be turning over a new leaf, because we're answering a demand. There have been so many of you across the nation that have said, hey, we can't fit into certain parameters of your coaching because of time differences or what have you. And so we've got group coaching that is opening up.
I thought you was going to wait till March.
I was going to March, but I can't hold water, y'all. This is the reason why she don't tell me nothing. She won't tell me a thing. Like if it's like a surprise, she can't tell me. Because I'm like, I'm going to burst. But we have some things that we're going to be rolling out. No, there's. I didn't say there's going to be an app. Did you say there's going to be an app? Where people can get connected and have community and have access to the curriculum that. No, okay. Well, hey, I didn't say it. I just asked her a question, but some things are coming. And if you're a couple that says, you know what, I really resonate with them, but I want to see if there's a way that we can connect. There are more opportunities coming here in the very, very, very near future.
Okay. You heard it here.
So until the next time.
Be blessed.
And go deeper.
Bye.
Please. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married Into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.